My wife, who is 37, and I, 39, have been married for 15 years, and we have two children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. About a year and a half ago, my wife came to me requesting an open marriage, saying she was bored and wanted to experience more. Since I believe marriage is a commitment between two people, I was strongly against the idea. My wife had only ever been with me, while I had been with 5 partners before we got married. She made it clear that she was ready to file for divorce if we didn't open the marriage, so I reluctantly agreed under certain conditions. No bringing partners to our home, we wouldn't discuss them, our kids and family wouldn't know, all partners had to be tested, and no one we both knew would be involved. Soon after, my suspicions were confirmed when my wife stayed out until 4 a.m., which made it clear she had someone in mind before even bringing up the open marriage. This happened just 24 hours after we made the decision, and though I wanted to save my marriage, I struggled with the situation. Last May, I met Amber when our daughters, who are both in the marching band, brought us together. Amber is divorced and has no interest in getting married again. Like everyone, she has her own needs. 5 months after we opened our marriage, I began sleeping with Amber. Initially, it felt like cheating, but it became clear that it was simply a no-strings-attached arrangement, where neither of us wanted anything more. I became comfortable with the idea that my wife and I could meet our needs both within and outside of our marriage. Over time, we were much happier and our sex life became more passionate. In April, during the coronavirus pandemic, my wife and her partner, who I never met, stopped seeing each other. From what I understand, his wife doesn't know, and it became difficult for them to meet, even though he's in an open marriage. In May, we helped organize a great Zoom concert for the band students, and during that time, my wife met Amber for the first time. Amber had apparently been open with a few of the other moms, and word got back to my wife that Amber was my outside partner. Since we both know Amber, my wife told me I had to end things with her. I refused, reminding her that we didn't know Amber before and that our relationship followed the guidelines we had agreed upon. Over the past month, my wife has repeatedly expressed her unhappiness with me seeing Amber and has asked me to end the arrangement. For a year, things were stable between us while she was with her boyfriend. This weekend, she came to me expressing her desire to reopen our marriage under certain conditions. I told her I was willing to consider that as long as we agreed that once we decided to close it again, it would stay closed permanently. She agreed, saying she no longer needed other partners and would be satisfied with just me. However, I suggested that if we dissolved the marriage in the future, there should be 2 conditions. The first being the one mentioned above about closing the marriage, and the second being her signing a document waiving spousal support in case of divorce. At that point, she got upset and flat out refused to even consider it. Since we got married, she hasn't worked, and she argued that signing such a document would leave her vulnerable if I decided to leave her for Amber, someone I've been seeing. In response, I offered to create a mutually agreed upon list of situations, including infidelity on my part, that would nullify the agreement. Still, she insisted that she wouldn't be left empty-handed or cheated on while I moved on with Amber. I reminded her that this open marriage concept was her idea in the first place and that I only went along with it to maintain our relationship. She feels that if we don't close the marriage, it's a sign the marriage should end. I told her I wouldn't tolerate the threat of divorce every time one of her requests is denied. She thinks I'm being overly dramatic and should focus on us. However, we both agreed the open arrangement was purely physical, and I know there's no long-term future with Amber. Despite her protests, I'm standing firm on my position. I feel like I'm tearing apart my marriage over something that leads nowhere. But at the same time, I don't think Amber is the real issue here. Based on the advice many of you gave in this thread, I called Amber this morning. I reminded her that we were supposed to keep things private and asked if she had shared details about our relationship with anyone. She denied telling anyone, and I didn't get the sense she was lying. After checking my wife's Google timeline history, I discovered that she had followed me to Amber's place in April by tracking me via Google. After following me, she intentionally approached Amber, likely trying to create conflict between the two of us. I originally thought my wife was interested in forming relationships with the other band parents, but it turns out she was focused solely on trying to end my relationship with Amber. At this point, I'm at a complete loss for what to do. I have a feeling your wife has flipped. I doubt she plans to stay with you long term. Of course, this is just my opinion, but I suspect she's already prepared to end things. You should consider what might happen a year or two from now if she decides she wants to be with someone else and opens up the marriage again. How will you handle that if she tries to have it both ways? I refuse to be blackmailed with the threat of divorce. I am John Miller, and it's clear that our marriage has come to an end. I'm starting to understand completely that she is no longer the person I married, and I'm deeply troubled by her behavior. The fact that we are in an open marriage has made her oblivious to his infidelity, meaning he is simply cheating on her. It seems my wife misunderstood the nature of our arrangement, thinking it was open, while I was actually just playing a game with her without her full awareness. Regarding whether my wife still wants to end the marriage, and if a divorce will take place, my initial question was whether she would agree that once the marriage is closed, it would remain closed. I also asked if she would be willing to waive spousal support under certain conditions, such as if she cheated or if I refused to reconsider the marriage. She refused to discuss this. I don't want to find myself in a situation where 6 months from now, her outside partner wants to start over, or she finds someone else and threatens me with divorce if I don't reopen the marriage. I have no intention of exploiting her financially. I asked her for a guarantee that she wouldn't ask me to open our marriage again. I was curious to see how she'd respond. Her reluctance to give me a clear answer made it obvious that she wasn't willing to back up her words. As for how I first met Amber, she was introduced to me through the band parents. Our daughters are close because they're both in the band, but my wife has never been involved in band activities. It's just not her thing. However, during the quarantine, my wife decided she wanted to help with the concert. Should I have told her, "No, you can't get involved because my outside partner is a band mom, and I don't want you in that circle"? If so, what would have been the appropriate response? Amber was never part of my wife's social circle, and my wife didn't get involved with the band until May, which was a full year after I started seeing Amber. It became clear later that there was a specific reason my wife suddenly wanted to get involved. I started my relationship with Amber in May 2019, and Amber has been happily with her boyfriend since December 2018. To summarize briefly, my wife asked for an open marriage, and although I didn't want it, I agreed when she told me she was ready to file for divorce if I didn't. It took me a few months to come to terms with everything, but she managed to find an outside partner within just 24 hours. That relationship quickly ended, and in an attempt to pressure me into ending my relationship, she followed me around and introduced herself to my boyfriend. When that strategy failed, she decided to push for the termination of our marriage once again. The conditions I set were ones she was unwilling to accept. I'm now in the final month, which has been particularly challenging. After discovering her stalking behavior, I confronted her. Initially, she denied it, but when I brought up her location history, she attempted to deflect, accusing me of invading her privacy. I didn't take the bait. Eventually, she admitted that she was unhappy that I had someone on the side while she did not, and that a mother from the school made her feel as if she was too close to home. I struck a deal with Amber. I would end our relationship if she agreed to attend counseling, formally end the marriage, and begin searching for a job to help with household expenses. She responded by saying she was a stay-at-home mother. I told her we could revisit this discussion after the COVID-19 pandemic had passed, but once things returned to normal, she couldn't just stay at home indefinitely. We attended a few therapy sessions, which initially went well. The therapist challenged her to explain why she had followed me and why she felt it necessary to end the marriage. She was required to address nearly every concern I had. However, things soon deteriorated. She revealed that her outside partner was someone from her past, specifically a high school boyfriend. They had split up before but had reconciled, which contributed to her distress. She explained that not being able to be with him throughout high school made her want to fulfill that goal now. I was furious, feeling it was too personal, just like my choice of a fellow school parent felt too close to home. I warned her that choosing a married ex-boyfriend was completely inappropriate and against acceptable boundaries. I told her I couldn't even look at her because I didn't want our children to see me in such a state. I moved into a hotel to get some much-needed space and rest. After staying there for a few days with my family, I decided to return home and face the fallout of our marriage. When I got home, I was surprised by how cold and dismissive my 14-year-old daughter was toward me. When I asked what was wrong, she accused me of having an affair with one of the band moms. I asked her where she had heard this, but at first, she refused to say, claiming it didn't matter. Eventually, she admitted that her mother had told her I was staying at my girlfriend's house after I left. I told her that wasn't true and showed her the hotel receipt on my phone. I explained that her mother and I had argued, and I took time away so we could both calm down. I counted to 10 in my head, then showed her the receipt again. I assured her that I loved her and always would, even as she shed many tears. I was feeling overwhelmed inside, but I did my best to keep my composure. My wife wasn't there to greet me, so I took to Facebook and found the woman married to the man my wife had been having an affair with for a year and a half. I sent her a message informing her about the affair and offered to provide any proof she needed to verify this information. She expressed her gratitude and had a suspicion that something was wrong. A few hours later, my wife confronted me in a fit of rage, accusing me of breaching the confidentiality of our therapy sessions and ruining the life of the person I had contacted. I questioned her about her decision to inform our child that I was dating someone else, but she denied disclosing anything beyond the fact that I was absent for a few days. Since last Thursday, we haven't communicated. We are scheduled for another therapy session tomorrow, but I'm unsure if it's even worth attending. Despite repeatedly catching her in lies, I don't believe I will ever be able to trust her again. The thought of it makes me feel sick to my stomach. Even though I know that filing for divorce is the sensible choice, the failure of my marriage makes me feel like a personal failure. Every time I try to call an attorney, I feel nauseated. Thank you for the update. I'm sorry to hear that therapy is only revealing more issues and that your trust in your wife has been completely shattered due to her dishonesty. I sincerely hope that your wife wasn't the one who told your daughter, but when people are desperate, they'll hold on to anything to stay afloat, even turning the kids against you, which isn't exactly a new tactic. Despite your marriage coming to an end, this doesn't mean you've failed. I strongly recommend that you contact an attorney now, as difficult as it may be. Do it for yourself, for your children, and even for your wife, so that she can hit her lowest point without dragging everyone else down with her. I wish you success, sir, and urge you to consult with a lawyer as soon as possible. It seems clear that your wife either cheated on you or was on the verge of doing so, and when things didn't go as planned, she couldn't stand the idea of you finding happiness. She doesn't contribute to the household and constantly lies. What makes you think anything could fix this? When someone reveals who they truly are, you should believe them. Your wife operates on an either my way or the highway mindset. That's why it's crucial to get your finances in order and walk away from this toxic relationship. Oh my goodness, Lisa, you did not fail. Your wife intended to cheat, but didn't want to call it that, and she never expected you to do the same. It's manipulative for her to threaten divorce if you didn't agree to her demands. The fact that she tried to damage your relationship with your daughter shows how far things have fallen. This situation likely isn't fixable, but don't be too hard on yourself. None of this is your fault. It's clear that your wife is spiraling, and though you've been holding on, it might be time to let go. Be honest with your daughter about the situation, as the truth will eventually come out. It's better for her to hear the full story from you rather than rumors or lies. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking, real-life stories.